So a couple weeks back, I made a video about how I thought liberals were toxic and miserable. And so I had to make this video today because I just found an article talking about how there was a survey done. I think it was back in 2024 or 2025, something like that. And the survey was specifically done with liberal women versus moderate to conservative women. It's called the American Family Survey, I think. And in that survey, they pretty much found that liberal women were a lot less happy and fulfilled than moderate to conservative women. So I wanted to talk about that today. Really quick. It should be a quick video because today I'm going to explain why this is happening according to the article, but also according to what I have observed as well. Because, okay, so I'm just a small content creator, but for years I have been dealing with liberals both in person and online because I am part of the LGBTQ community. I am a lesbian. So I've been dealing with woke liberals for a good at least 6-7 years of my life personally. And their way of thinking, their energy, their mindset, everything has always boggled my mind. And so today, we're going to get into that. Welcome to Treu Sovereignty, where we are mastering our minds so we can reclaim our peace. On this channel, we are intertwining self-improvement and critical thinking because you can't have one without the other. In order to understand your surroundings, understand the world, which is complex, you need to understand yourself, which is also complex. Everything is nuanced. There are no black and white things on this planet. Well, there's minimal black and white things on this planet, right? So when you're joining this YouTube channel by subscribing, which is totally free, you're not just joining a YouTube channel, you're joining a community of like-minded thinkers. In my comments, you will see many intelligent, intellectual beings who think like you. I know that it can be kind of lonely to be a critical thinker in a world that rewards superficiality, materialistic behavior, consumerism. It can be lonely, because it's hard to find people who actually want to have a deep conversation. So come to my channel. I'm planning on building a community. I haven't really gathered my thoughts on how to do that quite yet. But for now, you can just enjoy the content and watch this community grow and be an early member of the community, if that entices you. Let's get into the video. So you might say I'm a little harsh on liberals. My TikToks, my YouTube videos, they might seem a little harsh, a little unfair. But here's the deal. I was once a liberal. Yes. You might find that hard to believe. About 6 years ago. And I left the community when I saw the community becoming a monster. Not a progressive movement of change and fairness and equality, but a movement that was almost like sadistic. Like, if you don't think like us, then you are deemed evil. And that just didn't align with me anymore. And then, of course, some of the things that were going on inside the community, like trying to transition children, trying to indoctrinate children into the LGBT community. This shit just didn't sit right with me, so I decided to leave ultimately. And I think their behavior during COVID was a huge thing for me. A lot of liberals will say, well, I'm angry and I'm miserable because there's so much to be angry and miserable about. Okay, yeah, well, I'm more in the mindset of anarchy and libertarian. What do you think that we are? Do you not think that we are also angry? Do you not think that we're also not fed up with the fucking system? That's what anarchy is. That's what libertarianism is. And again, I do not like to label myself, so I don't label myself as those, but I say those labels because that's how I can kind of describe in simplistic terms where my mind is at. Otherwise, I'm just Emily, and I don't care for really any label, because people are gonna do some bullshit, nasty stuff under every single label, and I don't want to be part of that label. You know, I think for libertarianism, someone told me, I don't know much about libertarianism, but I know we agree on a lot of things. Someone said, like, they're trying to lower the age of consent, and obviously I don't support that. So if you're going to be doing that type of shit, I'm not going to be a part of your movement, even if we agree like 99.9% of shit. Anyway, so we're angry too. You don't think conservatives are angry as well? For the way that liberals have destroyed everything? The family system? Feminism? You don't think conservatives are angry, really? You think, as a liberal, that you are the only one that's angry about the way our world is right now, about the way our country is right now, about our economy, about how people are treated, about the homelessness crisis, about the economic crisis. Say whatever you want. You think we're not angry and upset? Hello? The difference is that liberals make being liberal and angry and miserable and upset as like an identity. So, in my opinion, one of the biggest reasons, and they mention this in the article as well, the article is linked down below, by the way. They mention this in the article as well, that liberal women lack purpose. So they cling and they identify with their ideologies. They virtue signal. They try to stand out as a good member of society. And in that, since their identity is so weak, they have to go out and put others down to lift themselves up. And the purpose of doing that is saying, if you don't think like I do exactly, then you are evil. Then you are a far-right extremist, even if you don't identify with being on the right. And in that, they ostracize groups of people, whether it's a race or straight white men. It's mostly straight white men. They ostracize a group of people, which is what they say not to do. You know, liberal women want so badly to end the suffering of many, many people, which is, you know, righteous, right? But in that, they cause other people to suffer. They cause people in their own country to suffer, own citizens, men, white men specifically, straight white men specifically. And they put suffering onto us instead. I mean, even me, seriously, even as a gay woman, they will go to the ends of the earth to tell me that I'm a Nazi, that I'm racist, that I'm evil, that I'm a TERF, that I'm transphobic. All because I don't agree on every little fucking thing that you spew. And for good reason. It's not that I don't agree with you because I hate a group of people. It's I don't agree with you because what you're doing and what you're saying is putting a certain group of people, which is children, a vulnerable group of people, in danger, in my opinion. And they don't want to see it that way. I've had arguments with liberals about this, so they will argue with you until they die. I swear to God, they'll argue with you until they die about how children should be allowed to take hormones and get surgeries. It blows my motherfucking mind. I don't get it. So they lack purpose. So they try to find purpose in their ideologies, and they will get offended because they're identifying with their ideology, so they will get offended if you don't agree, or if you challenge them, or if you say that they're sick, like they will take that personally. That's where they lack purpose, pretty much. And on the other side, typically moderate women and conservative women find purpose, whether that's in having a family, or just being married, or just simply in what they do day to day. If they like run a farm, if they grow a garden, they're very preoccupied with their own purpose as opposed to being preoccupied with what other people are doing and thinking. And that is why the article mentioned that might be why moderate and conservative women tend to be more fulfilled and happier. Another thing the article mentioned is that liberals don't take part in third space activities very often. Liberals are typically chronically online, or more so individualistic. They find themselves to be married less often. They find themselves to not want children. They don't go to church. But guys, I'm a lesbian. Like, I'm not over here saying like having a family and going to church is the answer. Like, there are plenty of other ways you can mimic the family church life experience without having to literally have a family and go to church. You need to find community, you know? Community anywhere, a third space anywhere. Whether that's what I did, which was kickboxing. I'm injured, so I can't do that. Yoga. You know, finding a community of authentic, like-minded people that you can go to on a weekly basis, that you know they're going to be there, that you know that they will be guaranteed to be there. Another one for me, which I will do again in the summer, is skateboarding. The skateboarding community is just full of awesome guys that I just hang out with. Nobody's judgmental. It's fun. It's cool. It gives you a sense of community. You know, I'm of the idea that you don't need to make a family to be fulfilled. You don't need to have children to be fulfilled. Nor do you need a spouse to be fulfilled. Now, it depends on the type of person, because I'm the type of person that can be alone for days and days and days and talk to nobody and be perfectly fine and perfectly happy. But of course, like, when I make the money I want to make, when I reach the goals I want to reach, when I feel stable enough, I would like to get back into dating. But for now, I don't want any distractions. I want to focus on my goals, and that's just me. Like, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian. Maybe it's different for straight women. Maybe they do want to have children and a husband and whatnot, but for me, I'm more like a man. So I'm perfectly happy living a simple life with simple things, and I would prefer to be well off before I find my mate, you know? So I'm not necessarily saying you have to go to church and have a family, but should you be out in the world more interacting with actual real life human beings? Yes. Yes, you should, because when you're chronically online, your mind is this echo chamber of people shouting and screaming and being angry. But when you talk to people in person, you realize that people in person aren't like how they are online. They're not constantly trolling you or picking at you or poking you or trying to annoy you or insult you. People are very nice and kind in person, actually. And I feel like liberals who are chronically stuck on this online deal, that's how they perceive people, and that's how they perceive life. So in the article, they mentioned how liberals were more likely to report that they were lonely. Liberals are more likely to engage in catastrophic thinking. In therapy, they call this catastrophizing. And it's when you blow up a scenario that isn't actually as bad as you think it is. But you're constantly thinking about the worst case scenario, the horrible things happening on this planet. Like, it just never ends. You know, while the rest of us are just trying to live our lives, wake up, go to work, maybe take a vacation, walk in nature, just try to enjoy my goddamn self. It seems like liberal women are constantly trying to bring others down, tell them they're not doing enough, telling them constantly what other people should do while they're also not doing it. Like, they're constantly screaming, free Palestine. Why don't you free Palestine? Why don't you go and try to free Palestine, okay? It's not that fucking easy. Constantly shouting about, I don't know, whatever they're shouting about, but they're not doing anything about it. They're just shouting about it. And they're like waking up angry constantly. So they talk about this in therapy, and I'm just mentioning therapy. You don't have to like therapy, but this is in like the DSM book of psychology. I don't know what the hell it's called, but when, you know, especially for DBT therapy, which is dialectical behavioral therapy, where they try to help you, it's not just talk therapy, it's a lot more in depth on how to control your emotions. So it's a different type of therapy. But in DBT, they would talk about how one of the main reasons our emotional state tends to be all over the place, and we tend to go through these mood swings, is a lot of this like catastrophizing, which is just taking a situation and blowing it up way more than it has to be. Like, for example, let's say an anxiously attached person is dating somebody early on, and they don't get a text back for like 2 hours. They could catastrophize that person just doesn't like them anymore. Oh my God, we're over, it's done. Like, they're not thinking like, they're probably just busy. They're like, they've ghosted me, it's over, it's done, they hate me, you know? Like, they make up all this shit in their head that's not actually there. One of the behaviors that has made me the most peaceful in my life, and this is advice for anybody, not just liberals, is realizing that there are things in life that you will never be able to control. Boom, that's it. You will never be able to control them. You will never be able to change them. And that includes other people. You will never be able to control other people, change other people. You will never be able to change the entire state of the world on your own. You know, even with my channel, I create awareness of this type of bullshit. But I'm not like screaming out into the void like angry and upset and anxious. Like, you see me, I'm just chill. I'm just chilling here. I'm just talking to a little tiny camera. That's all I'm doing. And you see, I'm just a chill person, you know? I'm not like a miserable person. My channel teaches you how not to be miserable, pretty much. So, catastrophic thinking is the best way to become depressed, angry, in a bad mood, irritated. I mean, if you really want to be depressed, definitely try catastrophic thinking, which is typically what liberal women engage in, according to the article. And it's not just according to the article. I've seen it, I've experienced it. So, one creator that I saw, she said she doesn't think that the political party makes the person happy or unhappy. She said that she thinks that the type of person you are is the political party that you will be gravitating towards.
And they all come to the same conclusion, that liberal women are the most depressed demographic of people. And I have my own thoughts on this because I lived it. I don't think that these people are more miserable because they're liberal. I think that they're liberal because they're more miserable. I don't think that conservative women are happier because they're conservative. I think that they're conservative because they're happier.
So, in other words, if you are mentally ill, constantly playing the victim, constantly upset, moody, you know, whatever, you're gonna move a little bit more to lack purpose. You're gonna move a little bit more towards the liberal end of the spectrum. That's what it seems like. And when you're full of purpose, you're full of love, you're full of light, you have community, you love your life, you're enjoying the world as it is, despite the fact that there's much to be upset about. You know, you have goals, you have passions, you're not a victim, you're strong, you take responsibility. You tend to lean more conservative or nothing at all. So some people might call that moderate, but I just call it nothing at all. And that's where it seems like depending on the type of person you are, that's the political stance that you will take. That's where you will gravitate towards more. And it makes a ton of sense to me, because look at all the stories of people who left the Liberal Party, right? Including myself. You know, when I was a liberal, even though I was a liberal when it was like chill to be a liberal, so maybe I was never ever like super crazy or anything, which is kind of a relief, but when I was a liberal, I was way more emotionally immature, way more emotionally reactive, a little bit more victim-y, even though I don't think I was ever really attracted to that victim type of mindset. But don't get me wrong, like there's definitely been times, probably when I was younger, that was more attractive to me. And then the older I got, the more I saw, and I was just not vibing with it. So I began to just say, I'm just gonna go over here and think for myself and just try to be a better person every day, as opposed to trying to change the world. And she said the same thing when she was, her Instagram is Della Dream. When she was a liberal, she was in like a fucking insane asylum. She was on drugs. She was incredibly mentally ill.
When I was the most mentally ill I've ever been, I was super liberal. Every day I was suffering. I was on a fistful of medication, things to go to sleep, things to stay awake, things to make me be able to talk to people. I don't know if you know my story, but whenever I healed it all with carnivore for 2 years and I got off of all medication and my mind became so clear, I was no longer liberal. And I'm really fascinated. There's a lot of studies coming out about how conservative women are happier. I don't consider myself conservative. I consider myself moderate, but still. There's one from the Institute of Family Studies. There's one from the American Enterprise Institute. There's one from Tufts University. They all come to the same conclusion. And they all come to the same conclusion that liberal women are the most depressed demographic of people.
Go figure. But yeah, I could definitely attest to this with my own anecdotal experience, but also just dealing with liberals. Like I said, I've been dealing with them my entire life because I've been a liberal my entire life. 6 years ago, I really started to see the change first in my friends, because of course we were all liberal. Like, it was weird for a young person to be conservative or moderate, right? When we were younger. Just because conservatives and moderates were the type of people that lived in like the country. Like, they lived down south, or they lived in the middle of nowhere. Like, they weren't the people in the suburbs and in the cities. Like, it just, and like, we would gossip about like the guys. It was typically a guy, you know, and he was like a hunter, and he was like, we would maybe gossip about the guys that were more on the conservative end. But it was like weird to be conservative, right? But then as we got older, my friends started to change. And it wasn't a good change, it was a scary change. Like, they would dye their hair, they got really fat, and they got like these weird facial piercings, and then they would start to tell me that black people can't be racist. It started to get real weird, and we started to butt heads, and then we just kind of fell off as friends because liberals just want to argue. They just want to fucking argue. They don't want to just like chill and relax and go have a cup of coffee. They constantly want to talk about politics, and despite the fact that I have this channel, I do not go out with my friends and talk about politics ever. Maybe a little bit here and there, but after we get our point across and we have updated each other on the ongoings of the absurdity of life, we tend to go back to regular conversation, you know? And we're not like yelling and playing victim. We're like just having a very like low level like discussion, like serious discussion. Like, oh yeah, did you hear that? Did you hear that Trump freed Venezuela? Like, so that's just how it is. But yeah, and then like you can see them floundering on how Trump freed Venezuela, and they're trying to like say that the Somali frauds are fake, that they're just fake, and whatever. The world's a stage, it all could be fake, whatever, but at the end of the day, if Trump cured cancer, even if that were fake, they would either say it's fake, they didn't actually cure cancer, or they would say curing cancer is racist. Mark my words, people. Anyway, if you like this type of content, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe. If you can't tell, I'm high on psilocybin. Now, I'm not high, I'm microdosing. So I will update you on my microdosing journey. It hasn't been all butterflies and rainbows. It hasn't. So I can't wait to make that video, but that will have to wait. I'm gonna maybe make one in the middle of my journey and at the end of my journey. So that will just have to wait. But for now, I'm fairly energetic and in a good mood, so that's pretty nice. But until next time, I will see you in the next video.